Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a horror film from Denmark, Danish language English subs, released in the year 2010, directed by Carl Hugegaard, and this film is called Opstandelsen. It's also known as A Zombie Exorcism, which is a ridiculous title, but if you can't find it under one title, please look for it under the other. So the story to Opstandelsen, it takes place in a church and there's a funeral service in progress. So this man who's died, the mourners are basically paying their respects, and the deceased individual, his brother, is in the back room doing drugs because he can't handle this. And so the rest of the family look down upon this brother, and there's a little bit of infighting there, and so the funeral service is not as smooth as everyone would have liked. But unfortunately for everyone involved, this is going to be the least of their problems, because the dead that are in the nearby cemetery have actually risen up from the graves and have laid siege upon this church. So what started as a funeral service is turned into a bloodthirsty fight for survival, and who comes out in the end is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I am going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Opstandelsen. I didn't really have massive expectations for this film. Yes, it is a Scandinavian movie, but it's a very little known Scandinavian film, and so I always think to myself there has to be a reason for that. And number two, it's a short movie. It's only 50 minutes long, and so I thought, okay, well, this doesn't really have a lot of recognition. What is it going to be like? When I saw the trailer, I thought, okay, this doesn't look very good, but I'm always willing to give Scandinavian movies the benefit of the doubt and actually try and hopefully win me over. And so with no expectations whatsoever coming into Opstandelsen, I came out of this film absolutely surprised at how much I enjoyed it. I thought this is absolutely phenomenal as far as a short horror film is concerned, and it's one of the most vicious zombie movies I've seen in a very long time, and it really captured the terror that a zombie onslaught would have, is that this movie does not shy away from excessive gore. It is a very, very extreme film, and it uses extremity very, very well. The gore effects were absolutely phenomenal, and I just love the way the zombies look. The makeup and the costume design in this film was second to none, and it was a genuinely scary film, and that scariness comes through the psychology of the situation that these mourners are facing. I thought the movie doesn't take any time whatsoever to get into the really good parts, which is exactly what it needed, being less than an hour. And the character development wasn't necessarily needed, because it's more about a situational horror film, and that situational aspect of the movie was handled really, really well. And I come away from it really impressed by what Kasper Hugegaard had delivered. There was use of sound that I thought was very, very good. There was a soundtrack, but there were moments where there were no soundtrack. It was deathly silent, and that deathly silence had me on edge. I thought to myself, this is a pressure cooker. I'm getting to a stage where I can't handle this anymore, and where is the next attack coming from? Well, when the next attack happens, because it was so deathly quiet, it just makes you jump. And so it has jump scares, it has excessive gore, and it has moments of suspense. Is that these survivors, they take refuge under the church, and you never know where these zombies are coming from. And because the zombies are so ferocious and so hard-hitting, and you know that there is a strong level of threat, is that these zombies aren't going to tickle you to death, they're actually going to rip you to pieces. And that was something that I thought a lot of horror films lack, that moment of threat, in that if you get caught, you're going to suffer horrible, horrible consequences. And if you have those consequences, it makes the anticipation of getting caught even better. And that's what I definitely think Kasper Hugegaard uses very, very well in this movie. I just thought as though the zombies are amongst some of the best zombies I have seen in any film. And that's a big thing to say, because there have been great zombie movies out there, but just the fast pace, the ferociousness they had, and just the absolutely brutal deaths, I thought was really hard to watch. You know, me being a seasoned sort of extreme horror fan, there were moments where I thought it was cringeworthy, and it was cringeworthy in all the right ways. And so Kasper Hugegaard, I have to congratulate him. He's made a short film that was a lot better than I was anticipating. As I said, characters, you don't need character development, because it's more a case of the situational horror. It doesn't have time to give you insight into characters, but just the sheer brutality of the death scenes and the gore effects, I just thought it made me feel sorry for those people, because no one deserves to go through such a horrible situation like these churchgoers were facing. And I also like the fact that it was set inside a church, set inside the Lord, basically the protection of God, and not a lot of other horror films have done this, and I thought that was a welcome little change. And there's a lot of religion in this film, a lot of people praying, and where was God? And where was God when they needed him? This is an age-old saying, and this is a saying that was used in this film actually quite interestingly. So as far as a short horror film is concerned, I have slight issues with it, but I still thought it was really, really well done. And so I will go into the negatives. Unfortunately, it has two main negatives. Number one, it was so good I wanted to see more. And that's ultimately an issue, is that for the great short horror films, you see them and you don't need to see more. It's capped it all off. But the movie leaves a lot of interest. Your thirst for blood and carnage has not been quenched. And so I thought, okay, I'm a little bit, it feels as though a little bit unrewarding. And I just feel as though I need more to actually really make me feel as though it had capped it off and it exhausted all of its possibilities. And so as far as a short movie is concerned, I thought this would have been a lot better as a scene in a feature film, because the zombies, I definitely think a lot of people need to see it if you are a fan of this subgenre. And I also thought the shaky cam in some aspects was a little bit off-putting. I don't hate shaky cam, but there were some shaky moments where I thought it would have been a lot better if it just stayed still. But on the other hand, the shakiness of the situation made it even more ferocious and high impact. But there were some moments where I thought, just hold it still a little bit, because I really want to see the great carnage and the gore effects that it has to show. And so the positives far outweigh the negatives. As far as a short horror film is concerned, the acting isn't great. As far as a story, it's just basically people at a funeral, but it doesn't need that. It's that the situational aspect of this film is so well handled that I had a lot of fun with it. It was incredibly dark, it was incredibly brutal, very, very dirty film where you have to have a shower at the end. So atmospherically, it really nailed it. And as far as gore effects and getting what you want from a zombie movie, Casper Hoogegaard really delivered something that was very, very memorable. So if you like your shorter horror films, Opstandelsen is definitely one I would recommend. I'm going to give this film 3.5 stars. Now, so go out there and see it. All right, guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.